In China, India has taken a firm stand. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is attending a SCO meeting. India refused to sign the joint statement because it did not mention the Pahalgam attack. We'll tell you what happened. Meanwhile, in West Asia, the tensions remain high. The Trump administration is now on the defensive. It is denying reports that US strikes failed to destroy Iran's nuclear sites. Trump's ceasefire is holding for now. But one question remains. Where is Ayatollah Ali Khamenei? Also on the show, why China has built a gold vault in Hong Kong. How OpenAI is clashing with Microsoft. The latest from Kenya, where deadly unrest has claimed dozens of lives. And a closer look at weight loss jabs. Are they really safe? All that and more coming up. First, the headlines. US President Donald Trump says Israel should pardon its Prime Minister. Calls for Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption trial to be cancelled. Netanyahu was indicted in 2019 and the trial began a year later. He is facing charges of bribery, fraud and breach of trust. The Israeli Prime Minister, who is due to appear in court on Monday, has pleaded not guilty. The dollar slides as Trump eyes a new Federal Reserve chief. Plans to replace Jerome Powell has fueled bets of cuts to US interest rates. Trump has been angry with the Fed boss for not slashing the rates. Today, the pound hit its highest level against the greenback since October 2021. Myanmar's junta chief confirms that elections will be held in December and January, but international observers fear that polls will be a sham. The military toppled Myanmar's civilian government in a coup in 2021. Since then, the country has been embroiled in a civil war with the junta forces suffering territorial losses to anti-coup guerrillas. Setback for President Lula da Silva. Brazil's Congress votes to repeal tax increases on international transactions. It struck down the orders signed by the president in May, which included rising taxes on credit card purchases abroad and money transferred to other countries. Brazil is Latin America's largest economy. And in India, cloudbursts and flash floods wreak havoc in Himachal Pradesh. At least 2 people have died and around 20 are feared to have been swept away in the floods. Landslides and debris have also blocked several roads in the state. A new nuclear threat is brewing in South Asia. And this time, even Washington can't look away. A new report has come out. It warns Pakistan is developing an ICBM. That's an Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. Now, what is an ICBM? There are long-range missiles. They can fly distances that can exceed 5,500 kilometers. Usually, ICBMs are designed to deliver nuclear warheads, and only a small group of countries have these weapons. They are the United States, Russia, China, the United Kingdom, India, and France. North Korea also claims it has ICBMs, but their potential is hard to verify. Pakistan is trying to enter this club. It is trying to develop a new weapon, one that can strike as far as the continental US. Its range would cover 48 out of 50 American states. Now, this is not a new discovery. American security agencies have been monitoring this for years, and they have voiced concerns before. Why does Pakistan need such a powerful weapon? Islamabad maintains it wants a deterrent against India, that its entire nuclear program is focused on India. But US intelligence agencies feel otherwise. They believe this ICBM can be used to deter the United States itself. Islamabad has 2 key goals. First, to deter any preemptive strike on its nuclear arsenal. And second, to discourage any US intervention in a future South Asian conflict. Either way, the implications for Washington are clear. If Pakistan gets an ICBM, the US will have to treat it as a nuclear threat. Though it did try to stop Pakistan from making progress. In December 2024, the US sanctioned 4 Pakistani entities. These organizations are linked to ballistic missile development and testing. Pakistan's National Defense Complex was among them. This is a state-run unit. It builds missiles. Earlier, United States even sanctioned Chinese suppliers too. For years, China has assisted Pakistan. It has enabled Pakistan's missile and nuclear programs. In fact, Washington tried to contain this collaboration. The Biden administration had also raised warnings. Then last year, a US official spoke out. He warned Pakistan was testing large rockets. Here's the quote. This nascent capability was fundamentally focused on us. And if these trend lines continue, Pakistan will have the capability to strike targets well beyond South Asia, including in the United States. So if Pakistan expands its missile program, the US faces clear risks. Despite that, the United States treats Pakistan as an ally. Recently, Trump hosted Asim Munir, the Field Marshal of Pakistan. The White House rolled out the red carpet for him. Trump had lunch with Munir and hasn't stopped praising him since then.
And in fact, I had the general, who was very impressive. The general from Pakistan was in my office last week. Prime Minister Modi is a great friend of mine. He's a great gentleman. He's a great man. And I got them to reason. I said, we're not doing a trade deal if you're going to fight. And if you're going to fight each other, we're not doing a trade deal. And you know what? They said, no, I want to do the trade deal. We stopped the nuclear work.
Yes, Trump called Pakistan's army chief very impressive. He repeated the same rhetoric again of preventing a nuclear war between India and Pakistan, of playing mediator in Kashmir, even of offering trade deals to end the conflict. Even though India has rejected all these claims. Earlier this month, Prime Minister Modi spoke with Trump himself. India denied any claims of a third-party mediation. India's Foreign Secretary repeated that stand publicly.
प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप को स्पष्ट रूप से कहा कि इस पूरे घटनाक्रम के दौरान कभी भी किसी भी स्तर पर भारत अमेरिका ट्रेड डील या अमेरिका द्वारा भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच मध्यस्थता जैसे विषयों पर बात नहीं हुई थी। प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने जोर देकर कहा कि भारत ने न तो कभी मध्यस्थता स्वीकार की थी, न करता है और न ही कभी करेगा। इस विषय पर भारत में पूर्ण रूप से राजनीतिक एकमत है।
Trump may continue to repeat those claims. He has openly embraced Pakistan's military, even as it develops a missile that could reach the United States. Pakistan's nuclear focus is no longer just about India. It raises risks for American security interests. That shift may warrant a closer look from Washington, and perhaps from Trump himself.
Some countries use cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy and provide shelter to terrorists.
It was a dramatic day in China's Qingdao. We had diplomacy, we had disagreements, and we had India putting its foot down. Let me explain. Qingdao is hosting defense ministers from the SCO nations. Now SCO is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and it's a regional group of Eurasian states. India too was at the meeting. We were presented by Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, and we told you about the trip last week. It was supposed to be a significant one. Rajnath Singh's first foreign trip since Operation Sindoor. Not only that, but also the first ministerial trip to China since 2020. As always, we had the formalities first. Rajnath Singh was welcomed by the Chinese defense minister. All the attendees posed for a group photo. And then it was down to business. The Indian defense minister did not hold back in his comments. He called out state sponsors of terrorism. He urged the SCO to do the same. Listen in.
Peace and prosperity cannot coexist with terrorism and the proliferation of weapons of the mass destruction in the hands of the non-state actors and the terror groups. Some countries use cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy and provide shelter to terrorists. There should be no place for such double standards. Yes, you should not hesitate to criticize such nations.
Now, he may not have named Pakistan, But the message was clear. And the best part, Pakistan's defense minister was also at the meeting. In fact, he was seated at the same round table. If only they had a camera on him. Anyway, the drama did not end there. After the remarks, it was time for the joint statement. As the host, China would have drafted this document. Yes, they would have consulted others. But the key player is usually the host. And when this document was presented, India rejected it. Rajnath Singh refused to sign it. The question is why? A joint statement is crucial to every bloc. So why did India refuse to sign it? Listen to what New Delhi said.
On our side, India wanted concerns on terrorism reflected in the document, which was not acceptable to one particular country, and therefore the statement was not adopted.
So India wanted to reflect terror concerns, but one country opposed it. Of course, there are no prizes for guessing who that was. But some reports reveal exactly what India's concern was. The SCO document did not mention the Pahalgam terror attack. But guess what it did mention? The train hijacking in Balochistan. If you don't remember it, here's a quick recap. In March this year, a train to Peshawar was hijacked by Baloch separatists. The train was carrying more than 300 people. Out of them, around 30 passengers were killed. This attack was mentioned in the SCO document. And so was the general unrest in Balochistan. But the Pahalgam attack, not a mention. 26 innocent civilians were killed by Pakistani terrorists. It led to a conflict between India and Pakistan. Yet no mention in the SCO document. So Rajnath Singh rightfully refused to sign it. As a result, this SCO meeting ended without a joint statement. The question is, what does this mean for the bloc? And does India even need it anymore? Let's try to break it down. The SCO is a multilateral organization, sort of like a regional bloc. It was established in 2001 by 6 countries: China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. India and Pakistan joined in 2017, Iran joined in 2023, Belarus joined in 2024. So the SCO spans the Eurasian region. And what does it seek to do? A number of goals are mentioned in the SCO Charter, like promotion of peace, security and democracy, combating terrorism and extremism, and encouraging cooperation in trade, law enforcement and defense. Basically, the mandate is quite wide. India sees the SCO as a window to Central Asia, whether it's for trade or energy or counter-terrorism. But China and Russia have other ideas. They envision the SCO as a counterweight to the West. In fact, many in the US see this bloc as anti-West, and that puts India in a pickle. New Delhi has warm relations with America and Europe. It doesn't want to be seen as anti-West. In fact, Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar summed it up best. He said, India isn't anti-West, it's non-West. And this balancing act can be tricky. We saw that last week. The SCO released a statement on the Israel-Iran war. They condemned Israel's strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. But India did not join in. It released a separate statement. Not taking sides, certainly this balancing act is hard. And I know what a lot of Indians might be thinking. If the SCO cannot condemn terrorism against India, is it even worth it? Well, there's an old rule in diplomacy. It's always better to be inside the room than outside. India can find ways to gain from SCO. Plus, if we leave, we cede the advantage to China. Because all other SCO members are heavily reliant on Beijing. They could turn to SCO into their lackey. So it's up to India to fight this. We have reliable partners like Russia and Iran at this bloc. We must lobby them to make SCO a workable platform.
Both satisfied to go home and get out.
destroyed, obliterated, partially damaged, relocated, or maybe intact. We have heard all sorts of theories about Iran's nuclear sites. But the truth, it's probably somewhere in between. Yesterday, we had a leaked assessment from the US. It claimed the nuclear site was not obliterated. Yes, the program was set back, but by months, not years. Though Donald Trump disagrees, he said the operation was a total success.
The United States successfully carried out a massive precision strike on Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities, and it was very, very successful. It was called obliteration. No other military on earth could have done it.
The US government is disputing the intelligence leak. It has also released fresh assessments. Look at what the CIA chief is saying. The CIA can confirm that a body of credible intelligence indicates Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged. Several key Iranian nuclear facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over the course of years. Technically, they haven't set a timeline, but some facilities could take years to rebuild. That's what the CIA is saying. Now look at the Director of National Intelligence. This is her statement. Iran's nuclear facilities have been destroyed. If the Iranians chose to rebuild, they would have to rebuild all three facilities, Natanz, Fordo, Isfahan, entirely, which would likely take years to do. Now this is a bit more specific. It says all three facilities have been destroyed, which sums up the US assessment. Now let's look at Iran. Initially, they downplayed the impact of US strikes. But yesterday, Tehran made an admission.
Our nuclear installations have been badly damaged, that's for sure, because it has come under repeated attacks by Israeli and American aggressors.
That's a bit odd to hear. A very direct and open admission of damage. Why would Tehran do that? Well, there are two possibilities here. One, Iran is simply saying the truth. America dropped massive bunker buster bombs on the nuclear sites, and those bombs did their job. Or two, Iran is using misdirection. If they say their nuclear program is intact, they could attract more scrutiny, perhaps even more attacks. So maybe Tehran is covering up the true picture. Again, we don't know. We may not know for a while. Iran's parliament passed a law this week. It cuts off cooperation with the UN atomic watchdog. Earlier, UN officials could inspect Iran's nuclear sites, but Tehran is threatening to end those inspections, which means we may never know the damage. And like we've said before, some of those sites are located deep underground, especially Fordo. Unless you visit it physically, it's hard to assess the damage. Nonetheless, the UN body has an assessment. It says there was enormous damage.
I think destroyed is too much, but it has suffered enormous damage. So the attacks that began on June 13th resulted in very significant physical damage to 3 sites. Obliteration, annihilation, total destruction, etc. I don't know. Well, I can tell you, and I think everyone agrees on this, there is a very, very, very considerable damage.
So the UN Atomic Agency is unsure. They admit there is considerable damage, but they are not convinced about total obliteration. Also, don't forget a crucial point. All these assessments make one major assumption, that the United States hit the enriched uranium stockpile. But that's not confirmed. Several reports say Iran was bracing for this attack. Therefore, they moved the enriched uranium elsewhere. If true, the whole story changes. Frankly, the problem right now is political posturing. Ideally, we need factual assessments, factual and unbiased assessments. But we are not getting that. Trump desperately wants a victory against Iran. And for that, the assessment must be obliteration. Same for Netanyahu. His people suffered for 12 days. They rushed to shelters and hid from Iranian missiles. So he needs a victory to sell to his people. For Iran, it's a bit trickier. If they say the uranium is fine, they could face future attacks. If they say it's obliterated, they look weak, which possibly explains their mixed messaging. But as things stand, none of these assessments are reliable. They are coloured by political motives. And the nuclear program? It's a bit like Schrodinger's cat. We'll never know until we check. The war between Iran and Israel lasted for 12 days. There's a fragile ceasefire holding. Both countries are trying to go back to normalcy. But there's a question on everyone's mind. Where is Ayatollah Ali Khamenei? The Iranian supreme leader went into hiding after threats of regime change. He delivered a statement on 18th June. He wasn't seen since then until his video message today. So what did Khamenei say? And has this war affected his grip on power in Iran? Our next report tells you.
It's not unusual for Ayatollah Ali Khamenei to vanish for a few days. He is 86 years old, after all. A cleric of routine, silence is often his loudest political weapon. But this time, the silence was deafening. 12 days into the most dangerous war Iran has fought in over a decade, the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic went missing. No public appearances, no official sermons, not even one of his grainy, gray-filtered videos that usually serve as visual proof of life. On June 18th, he spoke from an undisclosed location. Since then, absolutely nothing. But this week, after an 8-day hiatus, he re-emerged.
I want to congratulate the great Iranian nation. I would like to offer a few congratulations to the nation. First, congratulations on the victory over the fallacious Zionist regime. Despite all the noise and claims, the Zionist regime almost collapsed under the blows of the Islamic Republic.
The address was not in person. It was not even live. Khamenei appeared in a tightly edited video, posted online, in front of a beige background. There's a photo of Ayatollah Khamenei, the father of Iran's revolution, in the background with the country's flag. The speech was full of the usual bravado, but absent of any real answers.
The Islamic Republic dealt a severe slap to the face of America. It attacked and inflicted damage on the Al Udeid Air Base, which is one of the key U.S. bases in the region.
Reports suggest Khamenei is still hunkered down in his bunker. So who exactly is running Iran? For decades, the answer to that question has been simple: Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. But now the waters are murky. This is a country being run in triplicate. There is a supreme leader in hiding. There's a president with reformist ambitions, and an increasingly powerful war council led by the hardline Revolutionary Guards. Somewhere between Israeli drone strikes and Trump's threats, Khamenei's power has evaporated, or at least been vacuum-sealed, disconnected from all communication systems to evade assassination attempts. There have also been whispers of him being too ill to govern. That country is being run by remote control, with aides ferrying messages between the man and the regime. So the question isn't just where is Khamenei, it's how much of him is left. Of course, Khamenei has a succession plan. Sources say he has handpicked 3 clerics as potential successors. Names are kept secret, but even those whose vetting is ongoing, transition admit the real contest is already happening. Not among scholars of Islam, but within the ranks of the Revolutionary Guard. There's the deeper worry that Iran's next leader may not wear a turban. He may wear a uniform. I am talking about the IRGC, Iran's elite military force. Officially, the country is still being run by the president, Masoud Pezeshkian. But the decisions are increasingly being made by a new shura, or war council, dominated by young IRGC generals. They're not just standing in for Khamenei. They are replacing him. Once upon a time, the IRGC was a tool of the theocracy, created to defend a revolution. Now, it is the state. No longer the background muscle, they've become the face of this war. And many believe that's no accident. With Khamenei potentially incapacitated, a military regime is emerging. So right now, the question isn't, where is Khamenei? The more pertinent question may be, does it still matter?
Welcome back. Staying with our live and rolling coverage from inside the ISS. We are bringing you these live visuals as, remember, the docking of the spacecraft of Dragon, SpaceX's Dragon, has finally happened. And what you can see over there are visuals from inside the ISS, which are being live streamed by NASA as that hatch has been opened. And what you're witnessing right now are historic visuals of those 4 astronauts which have finally arrived. And indeed, history in the making. Remember, they are going to be over here on ISS for 14 days, and ISRO has in fact secured a seat for Group Captain Subhanshu Shukla over there, where he will also be accompanying his crew members to conduct some very significant experiments. And ISRO has said that it wants to launch the country's first ever human space flight in 2027. Not to forget, setting up our own space station by 2035 and send an astronaut to the moon again by 2040. And so this entire mission is going to be very, very significant. Historic visuals coming in for you.
The 4th and final member of Axiom Mission 4, representing Hunor in the nation of Hungary, their first visit to the International Space Station as well. Great big hugs and handshakes across all members of Expedition 73 and Axiom Mission 4 is Anne McLean and Nicole Ayers of NASA, along with Johnny Kim, Kirill Peskov, Sergei Ryzhikov, and Alexei Zabritsky of Roscosmos, and Takuya Onishi, commander of Expedition 73 and of JAXA, with handshakes and hugs for Peggy Whitson, Shubhanshu Shukla, Sławomir Uznański-Wisniewski, and Tibor Kapu. And with their arrival to the International Space Station, that now makes 288 visitors to the orbiting laboratory. Axiom Mission 4 is now aboard the International Space Station. Commander Peggy Whitson, in her return to the orbiting laboratory, her 5th flight. 3 is a member of NASA, and her 2nd as commander of Axiom, an Axiom Space private astronaut mission, commander of Axiom 2 and here of Axiom 4. Regaling the crew with smiles and stories. To her left, or our left from her viewpoint, to her right, Sławomir Uznański-Wisniewski of ESA, Shubhanshu Shukla to her left of ISRO, and Tibor Kapu on that far right-hand side of our viewpoint. The crew is
Our next story is about gold. The precious metal, gold is seen as a safe haven in times of uncertainty. And for good reason, it can be traded easily. It is accepted globally, and unlike cryptocurrencies, it has tangible and inherent value. China realizes this. That's why it is making a big move in the global gold market. China has opened up a gold storage vault in Hong Kong. This is a first, but why is this significant? And why should it matter, at least to you? Let me explain. China has a massive gold exchange. It is called the Shanghai Gold Exchange. It is just like a stock market exchange, but instead of stocks, it is used to trade gold. This exchange is the only official platform to trade gold in China. It is controlled by the People's Bank of China. That's the central bank of China. Before today, this exchange only operated in mainland China. But now it is expanding outside by setting up a bullion vault in Hong Kong. Along with that, China has also launched new gold contracts. These are financial agreements. They allow buyers and sellers to trade gold at specific terms and conditions. So the goal of this expansion is to facilitate gold trades. But here is what's significant. These trades will happen in the Chinese currency, the yuan. Trades can be settled both by cash and physical delivery of gold. This may seem like simple trading, a convenient option for those buying gold in yuan. But China's moves also serve strategic purposes. It can challenge the US dollar. Most of the gold trading today happens in the greenback, with a large number of trades being routed through either New York or London. But China is now offering an alternative by opening a facility outside the mainland and by allowing more gold trade with the yuan. This also promotes the Chinese currency and de-dollarization. Now, de-dollarization means moving away from the US dollar for global trade. In the past, whenever de-dollarization was pitched as an idea, the first instinct is usually to look at other currencies, options like the euro or the yuan. But gold is emerging as a stronger alternative now. Central banks around the world are buying more gold. They are increasing their gold reserves. Central banks own over 35,000 metric tons of gold now. That's about a fifth of all the gold ever mined. This includes India's central bank as well. That's RBI, the Reserve Bank of India. In April, the RBI held some 879 tons of gold. It was valued at $97 billion. Central banks are also under pressure to repatriate their own gold from other countries. Germany and Italy are facing these calls. They have the second and the third largest gold reserves in the world. Some of it is currently stored in the United States, and its combined value is around $245 billion. There is pressure to bring back this gold now. What's the reason behind this demand? The erratic policies of the Trump administration. Trump's growing attacks on the United States Fed, the Central Bank of America, and the increasing geopolitical turbulence. America itself has the world's largest gold reserve. Now other central banks are stocking up. Recently, 75 central banks participated in a survey. They were asked a simple question: will they increase their holdings in gold? 40% of them said yes. They plan to increase their gold reserves over the next decade. So whether it's China or Western nations, gold is gaining ground. A new de-dollarization trend is taking shape, and this time it's being driven by gold. It started like most modern tech wars do, with a contract clause that no one thought would matter. Back in 2019, OpenAI and Microsoft inked a deal. The world hadn't yet heard of ChatGPT, so artificial general intelligence, or AGI, was still sci-fi back then. Under the deal, Microsoft would get access to OpenAI's models. But the contract had a curious clause. If OpenAI ever reached AGI, they could pull the plug. They would cancel Microsoft's exclusive access. But fast forward to 2025, and now it seems like that's a very real possibility. So what exactly is AGI really? This is where AI can rival humans. They can do multiple things at the same time. Many call ChatGPT a step towards artificial general intelligence. But it's machines that can reason, create, and outperform humans. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman insists AGI is within reach. He's hinted at internal benchmarks. So he believes it is achievable soon. But Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella isn't buying it. He's called the AGI milestone nonsensical benchmark hacking. It is a jab that shocked some inside OpenAI. They once believed Nadella to be an AGI believer himself. But Nadella has a reason to be skeptical. After all, Microsoft has a lot at stake. If OpenAI declares AGI, Microsoft risks losing its exclusive rights. It will lose rights to the very technology it helped fund. And unlike in 2019, Microsoft now has an AI empire to defend. It is infused into Microsoft Office. Copilot in Windows uses it. There is Azure's AI stack. So pull the plug now and the empire starts to look vulnerable. So Microsoft is fighting hard. It wants the clause gone or at best amended. And what is OpenAI doing? Well, it is using this clause as a leverage. So tense negotiations are underway, almost daily. Microsoft wants a long-term seat at the table, a 35% stake in the new for-profit OpenAI. It also wants transparency and predictability, guarantees that future models will not be behind a paywall. There's even talk of Microsoft walking away. If it does, the company would still have rights to OpenAI's tech until 2030. But in the AI world, 5 years is an eternity, especially when your competitors are already sniffing blood. I am talking about the likes of Meta and Apple. They are circling a different price. It's called Perplexity. Founded just 3 years ago, Perplexity built a sleek AI native search engine. Think ChatGPT meets Google. That too with citations. For users, it's an upgrade. But for Apple and Meta, it's an opportunity. In fact, both tech giants have reportedly held acquisition talks. Even though nothing is final yet, but the interest is telling. Apple still playing catch-up in AI needs a crown jewel. And buying Perplexity could give it a plug-and-play search engine. Something to loosen its dependency on Google. Meta, on the other hand, is in a talent war. CEO Mark Zuckerberg is throwing $100 million, signing bonuses at AI engineers. In fact, it just invested heavily in Scale AI. And yet, its own Llama models haven't broken into the mainstream. So acquiring Perplexity would give Meta an edge in this race. So where does all this leave us? On one hand, you have the incumbent giants, Microsoft and OpenAI, locked in a power struggle. On the other, you have the latecomers, Apple and Meta. They are scouting for acquisitions to stay in the race. And in the middle is the looming question over artificial general intelligence. Is it really a breakthrough? Is it coming tomorrow or 10 years from now? Because if one company can build AGI, it would change the way we think of technology. And no wonder everyone wants in. No wonder old partners are becoming new rivals. Because the future of artificial intelligence is no longer just an open question. It is an open battlefield. Now let's shift our focus to East Africa. Kenya has been rocked by deadly protests. Yesterday, people marched on the anniversary of last year's anti-government protests. Soon after the police clashed with them, they fired water cannons, tear gas and hit the protesters with batons. Then the demonstrators turned violent. Protesters lit fires on the streets and torched buildings. And the police responded with gunfire, killing at least 16 people and injuring at least 400 others. You see, Kenya faces a range of long-standing issues, from a struggling economy to police brutality. Now the youth of Kenya is demanding accountability, and anger is mounting against President William Ruto. So what do the protests mean for his administration? Here's a report.
Streets littered. Shops destroyed. Plumes of smoke still rising from the buildings. This is the aftermath of yesterday's deadly protests in Kenya. Early on Wednesday, the police barricaded major roads in many cities and blocked access to key buildings with razor wire. Thousands of people took to the streets in the morning, waving Kenyan flags, blowing whistles, chanting slogans against President William Ruto. Soon after, the police clashed with them, firing tear gas, water cannons, and hitting protesters with batons. and the protests turned violent. Some protesters lit fires on the streets. They torched parts of court buildings. Protests intensified in Nairobi's city center. Throngs of people marched towards the parliament buildings and lawmakers fled them. The government ordered TV and radio stations to stop live coverage of the protests. When several TV stations refused to follow instructions, they were taken off air. As clashes intensified, the police fired gunshots, killing at least 16 people and injuring at least 400 people. But what's behind the violent protests? Kenyans marched on the anniversary of last year's deadly anti-government demonstrations.
I'm here to remember the lives lost of the young kids that came to just express their discontent with the state of governance in our country and to continue their fight to resist the oppression of this regime.
The 2024 protests came as the Ruto administration proposed a finance bill raising taxes on essentials. After the clashes, Ruto backed off from signing the bill into law. But he has continued reimposing many of the taxes. Against the backdrop of the protests this week, he has signed 3 bills into law. They usher sweeping tax changes in sectors like agriculture, health, education, and infrastructure. But over time, public eye has shifted from the tax bills to bigger problems that ail Kenya, like spiraling debt, corruption, government scandals, rising prices, unemployment, and police brutality. And in recent months, the last bit has taken center stage. In the wake of last year's protests, many people appeared to have disappeared. They were reportedly abducted, interrogated, and tortured. Then 2 incidents rocked Kenya this month: the death of a teacher in police custody and the police shooting of a vendor. Both incidents have inflamed public anger.
To every police officer, I give you my assurance that the government of Kenya will support you, will stand by you. You cannot intimidate the police. You cannot use force against the police, or insult, or threaten the police.
Despite this, Ruto has stood by the police and blamed protesters instead. Kenya is facing long-standing, structural problems, and Ruto's denial only worsens the situation. But he should remember this: it cannot be business as usual. Yesterday's protests are a trailer of what could happen in 2027 when the country goes to polls. And by the looks of it, the movie will not have a happy ending for Ruto.
Now let's talk about Kim Jong-un and his latest showpiece. This time it isn't a missile but a beach resort. The North Korean mouthpiece has released new pictures. It shows Kim Jong-un with his daughter soaking in the beachy vibe to promote tourism in his country. Kim recently inaugurated a beach resort that has luxury rooms, water slides and sports facilities. Locals will get access from next month, and Pyongyang also plans to invite foreigners to this resort. But the irony is this: North Korea is promoting a new tourist destination, even as large sections of its population are without food. Here's a report.
Donning a black suit, cigarettes, and a cold drink by his side, just chilling by the beach. That's Kim Jong-un, the North Korean leader. Kim is often seen at missile launches. But this time, he was seen unwinding with his family at a beach resort. This is his bid to boost tourism in North Korea. The plans are ambitious. This newly inaugurated resort has fancy rooms, sports, and recreation facilities. It can accommodate about 20,000 visitors. And it will be open for locals from the 1st of July. Even foreign tourists might get a chance to visit it. Well, someday. Pyongyang remains cagey about the details. Kim Jong-un has appointed himself as the brand ambassador of the Wonsan-Kalma Coastal Tourist Zone. He calls it one of his country's greatest feats of this year. In typical Kim fashion, he was seen soaking in the beachy vibe, grinning next to his daughter and watching people enjoy water slides. With these pictures, North Korea is pitching itself as the next tourist destination, even though regular tourism remains banned in the country. Pyongyang has slowly started to open up to outsiders. Last year, North Korea welcomed Russian tourists. And in April this year, it hosted a marathon to appear more friendly to outsiders. This comes as Pyongyang remains under the lens for its nuclear weapons program and its military support to Russia in its war against Ukraine. North Korea is one of the poorest nations in the world. Most of its money is spent on missiles, monuments, and landmarks. According to a Reuters report, its economy contracted by 0.2% in 2022, 0.1% in 2021, and 4.5% in 2020. This was mostly due to a sharp cut in trade with China due to the pandemic. On top of that, add a food crisis, floods, typhoons, international sanctions, all of which made things worse for the North Koreans. Between 2019 and 2021, 42% of North Koreans were malnourished. Recent information is hard to come by, but the hunger crisis is a well-known fact. For decades, Pyongyang has failed to produce enough food for its citizens, and poverty is widespread. Despite its hardships, Pyongyang still refuses to accept foreign aid. The state newspaper said taking foreign aid would be like eating poisoned candy. These glossy pictures of the resort are yet another attempt at an image makeover. Another piece of propaganda for the supreme leader to solidify his grip on power at home, while his citizens struggle to make ends meet.
Weight loss drugs are no longer the future. I am talking about the likes of Ozempic, Wegovy and Mounjaro. They are the new normal. Celebrities are taking them, doctors are prescribing them, Instagram is selling them. But as these jabs become a part of our lives, there's one looming question. Are they really safe? Let's look at it. Most of these started as diabetes medication. They are essentially GLP-1 drugs. They mimic natural hormones that regulate hunger and insulin. That way, users feel fuller for longer. Their blood sugar levels are low, so they end up shedding weight. In fact, clinical trials also show a weight loss of up to 26% of the body mass. That's enough to rival surgical procedures. So they are being hailed as a medical marvel. But here's the catch. It might come at a huge price. This year alone, hundreds reported acute pancreatitis after taking GLP-1 drugs. This is a severe inflammation of the pancreas. The UK's Drug Safety Agency has opened an investigation. That's because some cases were even fatal. Now, even though these cases are still rare, but they are rising really fast. Mounjaro, in particular, has drawn attention. It was linked to 180 such cases in 2025. And that's not all. New warnings are cropping up every few days. Take this report by the European Medicines Agency. It cites a possible link between semaglutide and optic nerve damage. That's a rare condition in which you lose sight. Others suggest potential risks of cancer. Then there's the British Menopause Society. It has warned that these jabs might interfere with the absorption of contraceptive pills. It also increases risks of womb cancer. Now, none of this is conclusive, but it's enough to make anyone pause. Despite clinical trials, these drugs haven't been around long enough, so it's difficult to understand their long-term safety. Most side effects don't emerge until a long time, especially until there's widespread use. And here's what experts keep stressing on. These drugs are for people with obesity or type 2 diabetes, not just for fitting into new clothes. These aren't skinny pills. They are medical tools. And once you stop taking them, your appetite comes roaring back. Studies show that patients regain nearly 2/3 of their weight they lost. And this is within a year of stopping these drugs. Basically, these drugs manage obesity. They don't existentially fix it. Which means for many, this is a lifelong commitment. Plus, the internet is overflowing with these jabs. They are selling it in black market. Beauty salons are offering bootleg shots. People are even buying them off Instagram. That makes it the wild, wild west. Weight loss drugs are meant to be used under strict medical supervision. But right now, demand is outstripping supply. Plus, it is also growing social media hype. In fact, so many are just self-medicating. That makes it very, very dangerous. So what should you do then? Well, the answer is complicated. The future of weight loss drugs looks promising. New jabs could even mimic exercise. That is preserving muscle while cutting fat. Cheaper pill versions are also on the horizon. Experts still say the risk to benefit ratio is still heavy in favor of weight loss drugs. But they also admit there is a lot we don't know. And even among scientists, there's growing consensus. More research is urgently needed. But until then, proceed with caution and with a doctor who knows your full medical history.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
Welcome back. Staying with our live and rolling coverage from inside the ISS. We are bringing you these live visuals as, remember, the docking of the spacecraft of Dragon, SpaceX's Dragon has finally happened. And what you can see over there are visuals from inside the ISS, which are being live streamed by NASA as that hatch has been opened. And what you're witnessing right now are historic visuals of those 4 astronauts which have finally arrived. And indeed, history in the making. Remember, they are going to be over here on ISS for 14 days, and ISRO has in fact secured a seat for Group Captain Subhanshu Shukla over there, where he will also be accompanying his crew members to conduct some very significant experiments. And ISRO has said that it wants to launch the country's first ever human space flight in 2027. Not to forget, setting up our own space station by 2035 and send an astronaut to the moon again by 2040. And so this entire mission is going to be very, very significant. Historic visuals coming in for you.
The 4th and final member of Axiom Mission 4, representing Hunor in the nation of Hungary, their first visit to the International Space Station as well. Great big hugs and handshakes across all members of Expedition 73. And Axiom Mission 4's Anne McLean and Nicole Ayers of NASA, along with Johnny Kim, Kirill Peskov, Sergei Ryzhikov, and Alexei Zabritsky of Roscosmos, and Takuya Onishi, commander of Expedition 73 and of JAXA, with handshakes and hugs for Peggy Whitson, Shubhanshu Shukla, Sławomir Uznański-Wisniewski, and Tibor Kapu. And with their arrival to the International Space Station, that now makes 288 visitors to the orbiting laboratory. Axiom Mission 4 is now aboard the International Space Station. Commander Peggy Whitson, in her return to the orbiting laboratory, her 5th flight. 3 is a member of NASA, and her 2nd as commander of Axiom, an Axiom Space private astronaut mission, commander of Axiom 2 and here of Axiom 4. Regaling the crew with smiles and stories. To her left, or our left from her viewpoint to her right, Slavoshuznensky Vishnievsky of ISA, Shubhanshu Shukla to her left of ISRO, and Timur Kapu on that far right-hand side of our viewpoint.
Before we begin our last story tonight, let me ask you a question. When was the last time you wrote something by hand? And we don't mean signing your name or filling a form. When was the last time you really wrote? It's been a while, isn't it? Well, you are not alone. In the digital age, there is less writing and more texting or typing. A new report is out. It says that in Australia, writing skills among children are at an all-time low. Students in the 9th grade are writing at primary school levels. But now Australia wants to fix this. Here's a report.
Do you remember writing those 1,000-word essays? Or filling sheets after sheets during exam crunch time? Remember how your hands used to cramp up? Well, how lucky are the children of today? Not many of them have to brave the monstrosity that is handwriting. Children today are digital natives. As soon as they are born, they are surrounded by screens. When they get to school, if they're not ChatGPT their way through essays, at the very least, children are typing them out on their laptops. How freeing, you may say, but remember, the peniversion virus is silently fueling a global pandemic, pardon the pun. Take Australian students, for instance. They have to take what's called NAPLAN. This is an annual assessment test. For years now, a government agency called the Australian Education Research Organisation, or AERO, has analysed the answer sheets of this test. And now, they have released a report, and it is concerning to say the least. The report says that the writing skills of Australian children are at an all-time low. It has been described as a 30-year policy failure in education. Students in the 9th grade have primary school writing skills. Ouch! Speaking of which, the pain points that come with writing by hand have changed too. They no longer take the shape of cramps. They are now found in poor sentence formation and punctuation instead, and the government is shocked. So now, Australia wants to put writing at the center of all subjects. In some schools, writing by hand gets more focus in maths. In other schools, with the English subject. But Australia wants writing to be taught across subjects like science and even physical education. The handwriting policy aims to script a revolution, and this can help other countries too. In many U.S. states, students are no longer required to learn cursive writing. Many Indian states have removed it as well. And in Finland, schools no longer teach it. The move came in 2016. Since then, parents and teachers have become worried, and they're pushing for books to come first, not screens. After all, writing is crucial for children, and study after study shows this. Handwriting during schooling is connected to improved spelling, greater capacity to learn quickly, and to boost memory and creativity. And of course, these benefits are not limited to children. They are crucial for adults as well. Yet, if we want to remember something, we put on the calendar app, not an actual calendar. If we miss someone, we don't write a letter anymore. We send them a meme or an Instagram reel. And 1 in every 3 of us don't write anything by hand for about 6 months. Yes, in the digital realm, it is not as important for us to write by hand. But the loss of writing is the loss of our cognitive skills. And according to science, in many ways, even our expression. So while handwriting is dying a slow death, it is our responsibility to resuscitate it.
Hello and welcome to the Late Night Edition with me, Ayushman Singh Jamwal. Big breaking news coming in at the top of the bulletin. We're at the event organized on 50 years of the emergency. RSS General Secretary Dattatreya Hosable has hit out at the Congress. He says people who imposed emergency are roaming around with the